Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video on Particle Media. Today we'll be reviewing Halloween 2, the 1981 sequel to the original Halloween directed by John Carpenter. I am not alone as I am joined by MJxTV. Please say hello.
Hello guys, I was here for the first review of the original Halloween film and I'm glad to be back on the official Particle Media channel.
Yeah, it's only right to have you on for the sequel and then have nothing to do with you in the third film, but just like the Halloween series as a whole. And then we'll get
Are you gonna give BG bro for Season of the Witch?
Yeah, and we'll get you back for 4. But yeah, Halloween 2 surprisingly has a lot of mixed reception. I really dig Halloween 2, even though it has quite a few issues. I saw it a couple of days ago, and it really holds up in my opinion. I mean, I think like like age and the time, has really helped for this film because when it came out, it was, gory and it was trying to rival the slasher films in the 80s like Friday the 13th and such, trying to compete with those films in terms of the gore and the blood. But now that we've, it's been 30 years since Halloween 2 or whatever, and the gore has been sort of, it's a very tame movie in terms of gore. I think that has helped the film tremendously, and it, has aged tremendously, honestly. And the hospital scene, the whole sequence with the hospital and Laurie, Michael chasing Laurie down in the hospital sort of hallways, that's awesome, and it makes you feel kind of claustrophobic, even though there's a lot of spaces to hide. The hallways are very sort of narrow, and that helps for tension, and, also the brother-sister connection with Laurie and Michael. Yes, I don't really find it necessary for Michael to go into a elementary school and say Sam Hain, write it on the walls with blood. I don't think that's necessary because it's just why isn't he trying to kill Laurie? Why is he dicking around and, schools, writing Sam Hain all over the place? Yes, it's trying to establish this sort of supernatural and cult-like presence to Michael Myers, but I kind of like the simplicity, and if he is going around to his sister and trying to, finish the job, I like that concept, and it's honestly, you can take the Halloween franchise, with these two movies one or two ways. One, you can just watch the first Halloween, and then it's just, with no connection to Michael and Laurie Strode, and Michael just gets set off because Laurie went to the Michael Myers residence, and she just picked the wrong day at the wrong time to go to the Myers residence, and then Michael goes on a killing spree, and that's where we get the first Halloween movie. And with Halloween 2, you get the brother-sister connection, and it ties up all the loose threads with Donald Pleasance as Samuel Loomis, dying with Michael. Spoilers. He blows himself up. That sort of ties up all the loose ends, and makes way for Season of the Witch, which is completely different to anything Michael Myers related. You can have it one or two ways there, which I kind of like. It's kind of like a choose your own adventures, series, movie series. But anyway, that's enough rambling for me. What are your thoughts regarding Halloween 2, the 1981 version?
You said everything I was gonna say, so I guess the review's done. Thank you guys for coming out, and yeah, see you next time.
See you guys next time.
Like, subscribe. No, this film, when you brought up to me the fact that it had a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, I was actually shocked because I just never bothered to look the film up because I always liked it. So I just didn't really, bother to look up the reviews and what people thought of this film. But looking at it and kind of just reading what people had to say, both critic and audience, I can somewhat understand what people have, I guess, issues with this film, what their gripes are with this film. But at the end of the day, I think it's a sequel, and I think it's one of the few Halloween-esque or horror films from back in the day that has aged well. You talk about the gore and all that, but Rob Zombie's 15-minute Halloween 2 hospital scene has more gore than the entirety of Halloween 2, the original. So it's yeah, it's pretty tame by today's standards. And I feel like if you've never seen the Halloween films and you want to watch them in order from 1, 2, I guess if you skip 3 because you want to go straight to the Michael stuff again, 4, 5, whatever. The film itself is kind of like, I think you would be okay with it if you were to watch it now and you've never seen it before. Especially if you're comparing it by today's standards, and I think you brought up a good point with that. Now, the film itself, I've always enjoyed, my sisters enjoy, we usually watch these films from beginning all the way to 6, to Thorn trilogy and all that stuff, and I mean, yeah, you can take it how you want it with the original. I think a lot of people like the original film and they see that as the best Halloween film for obvious reasons. People like to bring up that Carpenter didn't actually direct Halloween 2, but he did help produce and he did write some of that film. So I do think that is a good thing. And it ties up a lot of plot threads that were kind of left there and left ambiguous and just not answered in, I guess, the first film. Part 2 clears that up. And I think overall it's just a very fine movie. I don't think it's bad, and I don't think it really deserves like a 20 or 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. To me, that's just kind of mind-boggling because I can't even imagine what Resurrection is, bro. What, an 8? A 2?
Yeah, like 2% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I mean, if Halloween Resurrection has more Rotten Tomatoes score than Halloween 2,
let's actually
mate?
look this up live on this. Do not cut this out. Let's look this up right now.
All right,
Halloween
go ahead.
Resurrection.
But yeah,
Let's do this.
Halloween 2 is it's a good movie, bro, and it's like
Halloween Resurrection. Halloween
bro,
Resurrection has 11% on the Rotten Tomatoes site, so we're saved. We're saved.
Okay, good. But it's still mind-boggling that Halloween 2 has such a low score on Rotten Tomatoes and people don't like this film. And it's like, while the ending of Halloween, it wasn't supposed to set up a sequel. It was just supposed to, basically just fuck with the audience, essentially. Making the audience scared to go outside and, like after the movie's over, like, they might get stalked by like a killer. That's what the ending is supposed to set up, and it's not supposed to set up a sequel. But the sequel, like the original Halloween, it made a lot of money, so a sequel was bound to exist. John Carpenter, he did what he could, and he turned out a pretty damn good script. And Rick Rosenthal, the director of Halloween 2, he did a really good job in mimicking John Carpenter's direction and his sort of style of filmmaking, and the hospital sequence is really good. I think like creepy abandoned hospitals, that's a great location for a horror film. And with Michael Myers, it just works perfectly because like you can always see him down the hallway, and then how they ended the film with Samuel Loomis and Michael Myers getting blown to pieces, and there's a sense of finality there which I do like, and they do linger on Michael Myers burning for like 10-20 seconds, and I like that sense of finality. But I feel like the film kind of lacks a focus with the whole sort of Sam Haines stuff, and like him going to a school. Like that's the worst part about the film to me, is just he went to a school, he went to the trouble of not going after Laurie and finishing the job that him trying to kill Laurie and whatever, but just dicking around at a school. And also I kind of like the concept of people on Halloween night dressed the same way as Michael Myers, so him going around on Halloween night with blood on his suit, that makes sense. And people don't really have an issue because it's Halloween, he's dressed up, quote unquote. But the thing that really bugs me about this is that, the whole Ben Tramer sort of car exploding scene where Ben Tramer, the guy talked about in the first movie, he dresses up like Michael Myers the exact same way, by the way, boiler suit and the mask. And that's a very specific outfit. It's not like Michael Myers is known, it's not a meta film. It's not like Michael Myers is known to the public and everyone knows what he looks like. And it's such a specific costume, the boiler suit and white mask. And, if Ben Tramer was just wearing the white mask, then I would understand. Like, that's fine. Like, that's a typical Halloween Shatner mask. but the boiler suit as well, and then he gets hit by the police car, and this fucking idiot police officer is like, well, I didn't see him. Now, if he was trying to take a chance and destroy Michael Myers by running him over, and it just turned out to be Ben Tramer, still kind of stupid because, well, very specific outfit. But no, this fucking idiot's run over like a teenage kid, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't see him." So that's kind of stupid. And then it explodes like the car. Like that's such an interesting scene to me. But I kind of like the idea of like everyone is dressed up scary, and Michael Myers is kind of like he can just go across the street. There's a great tracking shot where he just goes down the street and goes to the hospital, and nobody sort of bats an eye because it's Halloween. And I do like that concept. I really think it's an interesting concept which could have been expanded upon more, but I'm glad it's in there nonetheless.
It's funny because I wonder if Ben Tramer went and took out a mechanic and took his suit too. I think that's kind of funny if that happened. But,
right?
I mean, to go off the Sam Hain situation, I do think you're right. I do think it's a bit weird that Michael took time out of his day, whether it was earlier that night or whether it was after the events of part one, for him to go through that school, break into it, and then write that stuff there. Like just to take time out of his day to do that is very interesting to me. I'm not too sure if this film had the, I guess, novelization in mind, because if I remember correctly, the Halloween novelization was in 1979, a year after, it was publicized a year after the original film. Now, obviously, it wasn't written by John Carpenter, but it was done by Curtis Richards, and I believe it was fact-checked, like most novelizations are. They're not actually written by Carpenter, but in that, we do get kind of like a little prequel. It's not too long. It's kind of just like a prologue to the events of what happens in the original film in 1978, and we get this prequel of this curse, on the eve of Sam Hain, and how Michael's grandfather supposedly was cursed as well, and then they see the same thing in Michael, and before they can do anything about it, it's on Halloween where Michael snaps, and from the voices that he hears, he kills his sister, and that sets forth the events of Halloween. I don't know if they had that in mind. I guess maybe if they did have the novel in mind, the Halloween novel, then I guess it makes sense for them to implement it, but it still could have been done, I think, in a better fashion, because it just seems very out of left field. It's like, here we are in this hospital throughout the whole film, and all of a sudden it just cuts to like them dealing with a break-in. It just felt kind of very weird. But if they were trying to go with that, I get the idea of them trying to implement the curse and all that stuff, but overall, to me, that's kind of like a nitpick. I don't think it hinders the film, because I do think the film overall is still a good film.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like there's more good scenes than like like the bad stuff and stupid stuff. And yes, we talked about the Ben Tramer scene and also Sam Hain. Those are outliers in what is mostly a really good film and a great follow-up to the first one. Of course, it can't outdo the original, but I personally think, and I might get a lot of shit for this, but it comes pretty damn close to being as good as the original. In my opinion, I really do like this film, and maybe it's just I have a bias because I just saw it a couple of days ago. And you know how you see recent, films, or you see like films recently and you're like, oh, that's the best thing ever, but upon reflection, it's like, oh, this wasn't so great. We have that with Dragon Ball every fucking minute. But, yeah, I really do like Halloween. The director mimicked John Carpenter's style very well, and the Sam Hain stuff, while it wasn't explored very well, and yes, it wasn't implemented to the story very well, it is interesting. It's an interesting concept, and it sort of begs the question, is Michael Myers more than just the personification of evil? Is there something more to it? More supernatural-like? And while I do like that, it's just not explored well enough to really sort of capture my interest, very much. But
it's a cool concept, and it makes you question what the lore is. Like, it makes me think, like, what's the history? Like, what did Michael's grandfather do? Why was his grandmother making the comparison? What's this and what's that? It makes you want to find out more about the history of Michael's family. But overall, it's just such a small scene, and it's just kind of weirdly edited in the film, in my opinion, that I just don't really care for it. I don't really care for the curse. Obviously, this stuff gets explained later on in other films, and they go way more in depth into it. But for Halloween 2, it just seems kind of oddly put there. But But again, to me, it's just like a nitpick. Even though I don't really like that scene, I don't think it hinders the film.
I agree, and especially since it's on like the same nights like of Halloween, the first Halloween and the second Halloween movie are connected, like, legit, like Halloween 2 starts with the ending of Halloween, so it's kind of interesting how they throw that in there without any time skips or anything like that. But overall, I think we both agree that Halloween 2 is severely underrated, and that's sort of the main topic of this video. Is Halloween 2 underrated? Yes, it is. It is super, super underrated, and I really do like this film. The direction is good. The kills, while, tame now, are quite interesting, and I think that the overall narrative and the chase scenes and everything else is quite well done. And of course, the remix score is awesome as well. I mean, like when Michael Myers is chasing Laurie and the Halloween music play is just excellent. And they finally killed Michael Myers until Halloween 4. But that is going to do it for
Right.
us. Yeah, like, and he just keeps coming back and coming
Halloween
back.
4, bro. Dr. Samuel Loomis is like, I guess room level, bro. He survived an explosion, so there you go.
There you go, bro. He's room level. Power scale of that one, Seth. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us. We should have a Halloween 2018 review coming out soon. I'm sure, we'll be on, that as soon as the movie releases in Australia in a few days. I can't wait to see it. But that's going to do it for us. Please make sure to go subscribe to MJxTV for anime, Dragon Ball, and other related content similar to that. Please go subscribe to my main channel, Frozen Particle, for Dragon Ball content. And yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.